glamorous sounding good afternoon. Peace and grace, ladies and gentlemen. It is so good to be in your presence once again. You're listening to Rachelle Wilson here. Make some intelligent noise, the Political Power Hour. And here we're going to talk politics with the next candidate for the city of Wilmington's mayor, Miss Velda Jones-Potter. She's going to be joining us in just a moment. She's a trailblazer, and she's got a journey and a story to tell. So grab your pen and pads and make sure that you've got your information. Whatever you don't know, you're going to find out today. I'm Rachelle Wilson, founder, CEO, and everything. I do everything with Make Some Intelligent Noise. And I started that movement as a mother who is passionate about the prison justice system because they've got my child in the belly of the beast. So that's what I do. And I kind of stay in my lane by, I thought maybe let me interview all of the political candidates and find out what type of mindset do they have and where are we with all of the prison systems and the system of prison, the criminal justice system. All right. So that's what I do. That's where I'm from. That's my background. But ladies and gentlemen, now that I am interviewing all of our public servants, our elected officials, I'm actually getting smart. So stay with me so you can get smart too. Remember, ignorance will pay the price because intelligence rules the world. So stay with me, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. I'm Rachelle Wilson. Don't change those dials. I'll be right back. And to hear you. Ready? Mm-hmm. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate you staying right where you were, keeping those dials locked in at WHGE 95.3 FM. We're your one and your only Black-owned, Black-operated news information and advocacy station for the city of Wilmington, perhaps the state of Delaware, and certainly on the World Wide Web. But ladies and gentlemen, let us now welcome Mrs. Velda Jones-Potter to the studio. Thank you, Mrs. Velda. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I've been wanting to do this interview with you. Timeless Thomas got to you before I could, but his questions aren't going to be my questions.
Okay.
So, for anyone that is possibly not sure about who you are, can we give them a little bit of the backstory? Who is Velda Jones-Potter? Where'd you come from?
Okay, so Velda Jones-Potter. I grew up in Wilmington. I grew up, initially my family lived on Church Street, so I lived some on the east side of Wilmington. We later moved to Riverside. I attended Northeast Elementary School, P.S. DuPont High School. I'm a Dynamiter graduate.
Okay.
I attended University of Delaware. Thanks to many teachers and people in our community and our neighborhood who poured into me, I had the blessing of becoming the first African-American woman to receive an engineering degree from the University of Delaware.
Bravo! That's worthy of a bravo! We're going to give you that.
And then I later went on, got a master's degree in finance. I worked for the DuPont company for 17 years.
Wow.
I thought my career would be in the corporate world and in that environment. But along came a gentleman by the name of James Sills, who happened to be the first African-American mayor of the city, reached out to me while I was at DuPont, moving along in my career. And he asked if I would come and join him at the city of Wilmington as the director of finance.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an honor.
It really was.
It's an honor when they reach out for you.
Yeah, it was a total surprise. I felt it was a once in a lifetime opportunity to really give back to my city, to the community that really had contributed in such a way that helped me improve my life. But I wasn't looking for a career change. Things were going very well at DuPont. What happened was DuPont supported an executive loan arrangement. So they said I could go work with the city for no more than 18 months, so I could come back and resume my career without missing a beat. And they supported me totally in doing that. It was a unique, rare public-private partnership that worked extremely well. So long story short, for me, it was life-changing.
That sounds life-changing.
It
That
really
sounds
was.
amazing.
It was.
Yeah, bravo to you.
What I experienced in that 18 months in learning about the city and how one can bring new ideas and innovation into the public sector and really help improve the lives of people. The city at the time had had 4 straight years of deficit spending. Contracts had not been renegotiated, so workers had not gotten raises in 4, 6, some 7 or 8 years. And we made a concerted decision to create for the city a surplus within that 18-month period. And I'm really pleased and proud to say that as a result of working across all the departments of the city, I was able to be very instrumental in the city in that time period obtaining a $5 million surplus.
So let me make sure that my little brain is getting that right. Are you saying that you, under the leadership of Mayor Sills, you were the first to start the surplus?
So what I will say is I led the financial process that allowed us to achieve that. We put some strategies in place that collection efforts. I mean, what I saw bringing my business experience from the private sector was there was just a lot of waste, and there was neglect of holding people accountable for doing a good job, and so there was money just left on the table. And there was also a lack of understanding and commitment across all the departments of the city with regard to how what they do impact the finances of the city. So between educating the departments, helping them come on board with the financial part of their operation, and then leading the effort of just really collecting and bringing in funds that were long due the city, we were able to turn a surplus. The city hired 32 new police officers and settled contracts with its unions all across the city.
That's amazing. That's really kind of amazing.
So for me, the life change was to be able to see the impact of my work on people's lives. I returned to DuPont, but I didn't stay very long.
Yeah.
The
political bug had bitten you by that point. You wanted to make a change, and so you started in from there.
Yes, and what I'll say is, I know a lot of people say political and politics. For me, it's public service. So I don't hold myself out. I'm not a politician. In fact, the political part of this work is the part I like the least. I am here to serve the public, and I'm totally devoted to a spirit of service. And for me, that's very different than the politics.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to navigate that aspect of it to be effective, but I believe if you come at this, if you enter this arena as a politician, then you're entering it with the gamesmanship, you're giving yourself a license to say whatever you need to say to get the result you need to get. I don't do that. So I enter it and I'm in it as a servant of the public. And so
Beautiful.
my focus is on everything, every decision I make, trying to make it the best decision I can for the benefit and the interest of the people who are counting on me to serve and deliver.
If you are elected as mayor, or when you are elected as mayor, the people will be. We do depend on our mayor and our public servants. And I've got to tell you, I got that word from, there's only two other people I've ever heard say that word. One was Michelle Harley. The other person was Melissa Minor Brown. Those are the only two other people I've ever heard use that language, public servant. Everyone goes in with the politician thing. So thank you for clearing that up, because there really is a difference. There really is a difference. So we've got some questions here from some folks on social media, which we are so thankful. Thank you so much for asking your questions. And we're going to get right to it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So a young lady by the name of Carla Davis, she wants to know, will she communicate with neighborhood planning committees and that sort of thing? I'm not sure what CAs mean, but neighborhood planning committees. Will you be a part of that?
Absolutely. And so NPCs are neighborhood planning councils, and CAs are civic associations.
Oh, thank you so much.
And so I know those acronyms very well because I know and understand how critical they are to the fabric of our city. And the answer is absolutely yes, because the neighborhood planning councils and civic associations are the people of the community. And they are giving of themselves. They don't get paid for that work. They're giving of themselves to better their community. Nothing more. They want to make sure it's lighted. They want to make sure it's clean. They want to make sure it's safe. They want to beautify. And we as a city have not done enough to support the work that they do. People who've heard me talk over the years have heard me say something about neighborhood planning councils and civic associations. And that is that they are the ones who've been holding it down for years and years in these neighborhoods to the degree that they can. So yes, I will work directly with them. A lot of the planning and the vision for what's going to happen in individual neighborhoods will come from and with them. They know the neighborhood. They know the community. They will further be resourced by an office that I will create called the Office of Neighborhood Development. And that office will have individuals assigned to work with the various planning councils to effectuate the change that they're trying to do. Because what I've seen is the neighborhood planning councils will have great ideas. They work jobs. They have families. So they'll take one step forward and two steps backwards because they don't have the help to keep advancing the projects and their ideas. And so they will get help, resources that will be responsible for continuing to move those things along. Because they shouldn't have to, they can't be expected to do it.
They can only do but so much.
When they're
so they
raising
need
them,
their help.
And they pay tax dollars.
Yes, yes.
For that kind of help.
Yes.
To me, they just have not received it over the years.
Okay. Excellent answer. Excellent question. Thank you so much, Miss Carla Davis. Move on to a gentleman by the name of Jonathan Tate. He asks, what will she do to empower and improve the lives of ordinary Wilmingtonians? How will she curb police abuse of power, excessive force in Wilmington? Those are two questions. You can take the first one. How will you empower and improve the lives of Wilmingtonians?
Okay. So I tell you, the cornerstone of my tenure as mayor will be investing in people and empowering people. And that is because we have not invested in people for far too many years. We have not had a balance of investment in the infrastructure and the buildings with investing in developing our people. So, education. People think of education only as the domain of the state of Delaware. And while our education system is run by the state, as a city government, as city leaders, as adults and parents of children in this city, we have an obligation to be a voice for them, to frankly demand of the state what our children need. I am appalled that we are one of very, very few, if any, major cities, the largest city in this state, and we don't have a public high school in this city. So education is a key, and yes, we have to work through and with the state for that. But there is a role that we as leaders of this city, and that I will play, in ensuring that the state delivers for our children the educational environment that they need to learn and thrive. Our city has not had the benefit of the participation in the economic prosperity that has happened.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started, Mrs. Velda. I'm sorry.
In some parts of our city, we've seen buildings go up. We've seen a beautiful riverfront evolve. We've seen large, multi-million-dollar condominium towers go up, and the work that people who live in our city have participated in with regard to that has been minuscule. And so we need to ensure that local projects within our city include local workers, local contractors, so apprenticeship training and programs, and I don't mean the kind that, you know, there's a 90, after you finish the program, you get your little certificate and you know how to do trades work, but you get on a 90-day probation with the contractor who you work under, and on day 89, for some reason, you're no longer able to do the job. So you're never able to make it into full-fledged. So I'm talking
that is discouraging to our young people. And they're going to take over the world someday, so they need as much chance as they can.
As they can.
Right now.
Yes.
Yeah, training.
So apprenticeship training and working with city council to develop policies that ensure we have local representation, diverse representation in contracts where government money is involved.
Yes. Yes. Let the contracts, don't just send them all over to this one contractor.
Absolutely.
Let small people who are starting businesses start getting contracts.
Let them get contracts and let them get bigger.
Yes. Yes,
so
ma'am.
then they hire from within the local community. We see too many Pennsylvania and Maryland license plates at the construction sites.
Absolutely.
The money needs to turn over here within our own community.
And you know, during the introduction, you said that you grew up not far from here, the east side. And we know, we're here, the radio station is on the east side. We know this is an underserved community, but it's a historic community. Our ancestors, this was their meeting place here on the east side, and it belonged to us long ago. And it's my understanding, I saw some pictures from some developers, the current mayor, the city of Wilmington's current mayor, Mayor Michael Perzicki, is allegedly coming and bringing all of this development here to the east side, but that's not really helping the homeowners. And so there's a little bit of a where to go from there.
Well, the investment that has been made under the current mayor of the city has been not to the benefit of people who live here. So I fundamentally have a problem with using taxpayer dollars because there are taxpayer dollars that are subsidizing the building that's going on. So you're using taxpayer dollars not for the benefit of those who are being taxed.
The word they're using, Brandon Fletcher uses the word gentrification.
Well, absolutely. Those properties that are built are not affordable for people here. What's held out as efforts to help ownership, I have experienced through personal experience in trying to help some people navigate that process, is homeownership assistance in name only. At every point they reach roadblocks. Under my leadership, homeownership will be essential in helping people, one, have affordable housing, and two, be able to own those homes. Because people can't be empowered, and that is a major part of my initiative. People can't be empowered if their fundamental basic needs like shelter isn't accessible to them, or isn't in a condition that they feel good about.
Slumlords.
Exactly.
We've got a surplus of slumlords and people who have to live there.
I'll give you an example of, so I sort of stopped with my experience coming in with Mayor Sills. I've served in public service twice since then. One as the treasurer of the state of Delaware. When Governor Markell became governor, he appointed me to serve out the last 2 years of his term. And then more recently as treasurer of the city of Wilmington. As treasurer of the city of Wilmington, I will give you a prime example. One of the first things that we did was to do a full sweep of all the bank accounts to make sure from a security standpoint that we had control over the taxpayers' funds. There were a lot of accounts that were dormant, hadn't been used for years. One of them was an account called an escrow account. So an escrow account was one that allows renters who have slumlords to be able to withhold payment of their rents, place it in an escrow account, notify that landlord accordingly, and until the condition is remedied, they don't pay rent to the landlord, they deposit it into this escrow account. Once upon a time, the city provided and used that. It had not been used in more than 15 years. I did not close that account, and in fact, I tried very hard to get the current administration, the current mayor and his staff, to place that escrow account back in use so that the public could access it. The law on the books allowing it is already in place. The account existed. It was simply a matter
and there's money in the account.
Well, it's available for people to deposit their money.
Okay.
So all that needed to happen was administratively to inform the community, educate them so they know that's available to them, and then assist them with using it.
Yes.
And something as fundamental as that could make all the difference in the world for someone struggling with the quality of housing.
You know, that's amazing. And you're actually answering, just in our conversation, you're answering some of the questions that people have put in here. I believe her name was Pat, and I'm looking for her question, but it says something about young girls being put out onto the streets because they couldn't pay the rent and that sort of thing. So I can't find the exact question, but to anything like that, if young, especially pregnant women, are being put out into the street, you know, there's got to be some help for that.
And where is the first place that people are going to go? They're going to go to their city. They're going to go to their local leaders, and where we can help them directly, we have an obligation to do that. And where we can't, where there's another agency in government, either at the county level or the state level, we have an obligation to facilitate that as well. I think the second part of the question that we were talking.
We go off on a tangent.
That's okay. I know I'm excited about this stuff. But the second part of the question, if I remember it, related to
how will she curb police abuse of power, excessive force in Wilmington? And I have to preface this by saying, when you're elected mayor, you're a black woman over the uniforms in blue. That's going to be a journey.
Mm-hmm. Well, so here's what, I don't have any concern about that, because I've been a leader over people who don't look like me, people who come from very different walks of life, multiple times in my career. And I think it's a matter of gaining their respect, having their respect, and that comes from being mutual, respecting them. What I will say, throughout our city government, including within the arena of law enforcement and public safety, and so what I mean by that is, it harkens back to that word that I started with, which is service.
Yes.
Because throughout city government, everyone in the city needs to come and approach their work and engage with our constituents from a mindset of, I am here to serve. I am here to be helpful. I'm here to facilitate. You pay my salary. Let's remember that.
Yeah.
And then govern oneself accordingly. And so when it comes to law enforcement, the word community policing is just so overused, and it sounds good, but unless you really put behind it the kind of cultural change that's going to create some real relationship between our officers and the community, unless that really happens, then it's nothing more than words. So some of the things that I will be doing is, I'll give you an example. The downtown visions, if you're downtown, you see bright yellow trucks that have downtown visions on the side of them. You see people out and about with bright yellow vests on who are being helpful. If you're at a restaurant and you have parked 3 blocks away and it's late at night, they're there to help walk you there. When the Grand Opera House lets out, there's usually 1 or 2 of them, maybe even on bicycles. So you feel a sense of safety, and so I'd say to myself, well, why don't we have some of that in some of our neighborhoods, particularly those where the challenges are greatest? And so if we're able to bring that kind of direct involvement and engagement within our neighborhoods, on the street, that will help begin to change the relationship. But it all starts at the top. So what a leader projects and expects of the people in the organization, frankly, is what they will deliver. And what you hold them accountable to.
Oh, hold them accountable.
So to the question, it's a matter of both of those. Being very clear about the expectations and sincere about it. And I say expectations, I mean that the engagement with the community will be from a standpoint of service. It will be respectful. It will not differ in the 7th district or the 8th district or the 1st or the 3rd or the 5th, that across our city, our people will be treated the same and served.
Yes.
And then there's also a dynamic that that we don't have, that I also will effectuate a change with. And that is, once upon a time, many of our officers came from our community.
Yes.
I helped start the Police Athletic League of Wilmington, the PAL, that's on 36th and Market Street. And before we had a dime in the budget to open the doors, there were 2 young men who were knocking at the door before we could really open the doors. And so they were the first 2 to step in. One is Shaheem Nottingham, and Shaheem has gone on to do really great things. Another is Michael Coleman. Michael Coleman became the first person who was a PAL kid to then become a Wilmington police officer. That was a major objective of creating that institution right in the community. And so I am always so very proud of him. We need more Michael Colemans.
Yes.
We need more people who are from the community, who see law enforcement and public service in that realm.
So that we don't have to be afraid when we see the boys in blue. We don't have to be afraid, like, uh-oh, here comes the popo. You know, as Medea calls him the popo. Right. Here come the popo.
Right.
But we can actually know each other by name.
Yes.
Like, hello, Mr. Coleman.
Exactly.
Hello, Miss Wilson.
Exactly. And build that kind of rapport and relationship. And it just doesn't happen if the leader doesn't believe that's possible, doesn't herself interact with the officers and the community in a way that fosters that. So a lot of it is about being. It's about how you are, how you engage people, what you believe, and what your vision is.
How you engage the Wilmington Police Department and Chief Campos and all of the officers, that's going to be extremely crucial in how they're willing to serve with you. So that's going to be very good. Yes. Okay, so we've got another question here by Miss Gail Johnson wants to know, and perhaps some of these questions you've already answered. It says, why is she running and why now? What are her top 3 areas of focus? And I know you've said some of that, but just for Gail, just refresh that.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Please.
So why am I running and why now? Well, I mean, many of you may know, but for those who don't, I was elected treasurer of the city of Wilmington, and I served in that capacity for 4 years. 2016 to 2020, I think.
Okay.
During that time, I enjoyed and loved the work that I was doing. But what I found very, very difficult was doing it alongside of an administration that whose values for service and for the community and for equity and opportunity all across our city was so very different than mine. And in my role as city treasurer, you're sort of in a box. People, people expect you to only know about and only care about and only work on the money. Well, I cared about, and I worked on more than that. I worked on the money, brought in $20 million in less than 2 years to this city.
Wow.
But to not see that money channel into communities and projects and programs that really helped people was very, very difficult for me. And so I chose not to run for that office again. That when I serve the public again, it would be in a leadership role where I could really effectuate the change and create the kind of help, with the help of all the people of the city, create the kind of city that people here deserve and that I hear people asking for. So that's why I'm running.
That's an excellent answer. There's a lady by the name of Elizabeth Allen that says, Velda, in all caps, brilliant woman, a problem solver. She would be great in that job. Men been running this city forever. Give this woman a chance. Thank you so much, Miss Elizabeth Allen. And now we're going to go, and Miss Eunice Lafayette says, I know she will have great answers for your questions. And she says that to a gentleman by the name of Eddie Pullybank. Many of us know Eddie. He can be extremely, dig his heels right in. So here we go with Eddie Pullybank. What does she bring to the table, which I think you've already answered, and what has she done as far as a public servant? She brought in $20 million. I'm sorry, that's your question. That was for you. Yes, ma'am. So what else? Let's see. There's a gentleman here by the name of Robert Webb. Ask her if she is well versed in American civil rights laws, U.S. constitutional law, probate, contract, common, admiralty, and so forth. What do you know about the law?
Well, so I'm pretty versed in the law, certainly in constitutional law and in civil law. I am not an attorney,
right?
But I will have attorneys on staff.
All right, that's
who are
right.
experts in that aspect of it. But what I do know is, one, it's important to follow the law.
Yes, yes.
That you have to do that, and also that it's important to ensure that the laws are applied equitably and fairly.
Yes.
And that they are established for the benefit of society to operate and function well. And so over the course of my career, both in the private sector and in the public sector, I've had to, at various times, be involved with circumstances where interpretation of laws was important. And between my own ability to, discern
yes.
what any given law is requiring, I reach out to those experts who absolutely know and can advise to ensure that we are doing things the way we absolutely need to.
Okay. I have a question here by Abdallah Muhammad Bey. But before I get to his question, I've got to say, recently I had Newcastle County Executive Matt Meyer sat in the hot seat with me.
Okay.
And one of the things that he said, Mrs. Velda, is some things are outside of his jurisdiction of authority in order to directly get involved in, but being able to have conversations with other people could still get this particular type of work done. As a mayor, you have a cap on your authority over the city, but building relationships, you can help push some things forward. And Abdallah Muhammad Bey wants to know, what about reparations?
Well, many of you may or may not be aware of the recent judicial ruling with regard to the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre.
Massacre is a good word. Don't be afraid to use it.
Where basically Black Wall Street was burned down and generational wealth was annihilated. And they're asking for reparations was just in the last 2 days maybe struck down, and so that's very disturbing, because therein lies a very contiguous, very specific area. I mean, you can see the businesses, you can count the homes. They know the people, and so their generations that have been affected can also be known, and even then there isn't the reparation that is due. So I will say that as sort of my initial establishing my level of concern. And so I do believe that we in this country, until we do effectuate some reparation to level up, and it might, I don't have the answer for what form it comes in, but I wholeheartedly support that it needs to happen. From the education gap to the
housing, redlining,
to ownership of land and property, to so many things over the years. We've got to see something happen there, and so
and we may or may not see it in our particular lifetime, because honestly, if the United States government, and that's a whole nother conversation, but if the United States of America ever decided, yes, they're going to repair what they broke, it's much more than just Tulsa. There's Central Park, there's all over this nation, and I don't know that they have the money or the the wherewithal, the will to do it.
The will is, I think, there, and where there's a will, you'll find a way to see how it can be done. I mean, like I said, I don't know what it looks like, but it's a conversation that has to happen. I know that there's been a will, and therefore a way has been found for Native Americans. Not much of it through casino,
giving them back land
and giving back of land.
Yes, ma'am.
So I believe that there are ways that can be found. Once the will is there.
I think the most simplistic way, and this is going into your time, but the most simplistic way, honestly, really, literally, give us 40 acres, keep the mule, but give us 40 acres and a tractor, and I think we'll be all right from there. This question comes from a gentleman by the name of Dwayne Bell, and I'm trying to understand it in its entirety. It says, "Hi, Rachelle. I was Mr. P.S. DuPont High School in 1975. Velda was Miss P.S. in 1975, and we grew up just blocks from each other, so she remembers the variety of small businesses that used to exist on North Market Street, Union Street on the west side. West side had its upgrade take place. When will that happen for North Market Street?" Okay, I see where he's going. Did you understand any of the questions?
I do.
Okay.
And I absolutely know Dwayne Bell. We were very good friends in high school and enjoyed all of what P.S. DuPont had to offer. So
yes,
it's great to have a old dynamiter weighing in. And I absolutely remember the small businesses. I remember the vitality along North Market Street, and I'm really saddened when I travel down Market Street from, I'd say maybe 36th and Market all the way down to the Brandywine, and how vibrant it used to be with small businesses, and it is imperative that we bring that back. That's a major corridor of
That
the
could
city.
be our new Black Wall Street if businesses had an opportunity to open up.
It's an economic boom just wanting to happen.
Yes.
Not waiting, but wanting to happen. And if you can imagine small businesses all along that corridor, first of all, the lift that it'll give to that whole strip of neighboring communities, and then the ability for them to hire people who live on either side of Market Street.
Yeah.
The kind of economic development that you'll have from that is phenomenal. I'm imagining the $800 million that was invested at the riverfront. Imagine if just a fraction of that were invested along Market Street and along Union Street and up and down 4th Street, in Browntown, areas where that economic vibrancy is just essential.
Yes.
I think it's absolutely something that we need to do, can do, and
it
I
would be a conversation on your table.
Absolutely.
All right, Dwayne. She says it will be a conversation on her table, and we've just got about 10 more minutes left, and we're going to close out. Let me just run through this. But if there's something that I should have asked you, but I haven't, could you share that with us now? What is it that you want to say to the city of Wilmington?
Okay, so what would I say?
All of the voters, to all of the people who can vote.
What I would say is be very intentional about the vote that you cast. Don't, first of all, cast a vote.
Yeah.
If you didn't vote in the last election or the election before that or the election before that, vote. Have your voice heard. Please don't allow the sense of, kind of hopelessness that it's not going to matter. They're going to do what they want to anyway. Please don't allow that voice to deprive you of something that's so critical, because the power rests with people in this city. It absolutely does. And so everyone who is a resident who has the right to vote has the opportunity to effectuate the kind of change in this city that can make it different, that can make it better, that can address the issues individually that you care about. Because every community in this city has something that it needs. It just may be different things. There's no community, even those that look like they are thriving and everything is well, no problems. There are things that those communities would like to have.
Yes. And every community has something to offer.
Has something to offer, absolutely. The Rodney Reservoir is a beautiful open space that for 2 years, a cadre of citizens have been fighting to try and keep that open space, because there's been a movement by the current administration to build more buildings there. Now, for those who don't know where the Rodney Reservoir is, it's immediately across the street from St. Francis Hospital. So that raised area,
yes,
it's just open. So it's really beautiful.
Yes.
That's currently being utilized not only as beautiful open space, but also as for gardening, public gardening.
I walk my dogs there sometimes.
Yes. It's beautiful space.
Yes.
that in that community, at least a number of people would like to see it stay that way.
And other folks want to see it build. One thing I've learned about some folks, when you come from that type of background, you see it as bringing money into the city by doing building great big apartments right there is going to bring money into the city. But what about the beauty and the peace?
Well, and let's just do a little recap of the kinds of investments that have been made in the last 8, 10, 12 years, and exactly what all it's brought to the city. The population of this city has not changed. It is still 70,000 people. So if you think about it, what's been the return on investment? What has really been the return on investment to the people of this city? If there hasn't been population growth, if the neighborhoods and where people really live are struggling with unsafe streets in some cases, with threatened risk of losing open space in others, so like what is it that we have really benefited from? So, you're right. Let's ask ourselves, what's the real return on investment? So, for me, the other thing I would say is vote. And it's time to really invest in our communities, in our people, in things that are going to change their quality of life and how they live day in and day out. And that's what our city government, to me, needs to be about. We've lost the balance between infrastructure and property and people. And we've got to re-level that by strengthening our neighborhoods, strengthening our communities, creating affordable housing, and giving people real access to finances. People are paying $1,400 a month to rent. $1,400 a month to rent when they can own. And I in my financial role have facilitated that happening.
Yes.
I know how that can happen.
Yes.
And it's not rocket science. It's a matter of a will to do it.
So we've only got about 2 minutes left. We're on Spotify here, and when that gets to 59, it's going to cut us off.
Okay.
So I want to end with this. There's 2 organizations that are boots on ground, or 2 people that are boots on ground, and I'm sure you're familiar with both. But when you are elected into the mayoral seat, I'd like to ask you, Mrs. Velda, to please take a closer look at a gentleman by the name of Brother Ty Johnson of SeaTac. One of the things you talked about with the yellow vest and the protection and feeling good, the downtown visions, he has a vision for that in our communities that might be worthy of your listening to that. And the other person I would highly recommend, if it's possible, to get Brandon Fletcher on your staff. And he doesn't even know I'm saying this. This is just me seeing a good fit and a good connection. Give Brandon Fletcher some thought when it comes to subjects of eminent domain, people taking houses in the city of Wilmington, water bills, tickets, parking. He would be someone that you could depend on to bring you the news. Right. Brandon Fletcher. So I want to say that. And as we close, ladies and gentlemen, again, I want to reiterate exactly what Mrs. Velda Jones-Potter has already stated. Use your one little vote. And we know that there are going to be folks who try to pull shenanigans, and we don't have to go into what they'll pull, but people try to pull shenanigans that take away your vote. Don't let them take away your vote. Go out to the voting polls. Start asking now. We've got until November of 2024, but start getting your rides ready now so you and your girl or your hubby or your friends, your buddies, y'all all gonna go together and make a whole day of it, and you're gonna vote. All right? People don't seem to realize the value of the black voters. Your vote matters. That's why they pull the shenanigans. That's why they pull the shenanigans. And I'm going to ask you to close on this. One of the things you said at your amazing concert, It's Time for Change. But one of the things that you said, someone has asked you something in the audience. People will talk. People will try to pull the rug from underneath of you. People will say harsh and shenanigan kind of bullshit-knocky things about you. You know, just address those people and then let's close out.
Okay. Yeah, so, you know, here's what I say, a little bit of what I said there, I think. When a system would like to keep things the status quo, because there are some people who are doing really well and benefiting and everything is good. So when people want to keep things the status quo and someone raises their voice or steps forward to try to effectuate some change, there is an effort on behalf of the system to try and spit that person out, to try and just eliminate them. And often the way they do it is to try to discredit them, to try to just say anything, to create falsehoods about them. So what I encourage people to do is to know for yourself. I am accessible. My phone number to my campaign is 302-545-4031. And you can find me at Velda4Mayor.com. And when you reach out, I will answer. And so any questions you have, ask me.
That's right.
Anything you want to know, ask me. And I am more than happy to engage with you, to give you the information and give you the truth. Then whatever decision you make, you can make it as a self-informed decision. But just be very careful about, you know, what you hear and why you hear it. Because people will try to disrupt that change that's on behalf of empowering other people. So as long as you're doing well all by yourself, have at it. But the minute you begin to try to bring other people along and help lift them up, a system that doesn't want to see that change, that just wants to keep the status quo, that's happy with the way things are, will try to eliminate that individual.
Yes.
So that's what I would
Absolutely.
say.
So basically, let me translate that for you out there who want to talk a little Shinaki. Don't talk a little Shinaki. If you don't know the story, you don't know the facts, then you should call Miss Velda and ask her for yourself. Don't go out start telling lies and shenanigans about Miss Velda, propagating lies. Just don't do it. It's not acceptable behavior. All right, so that brings us to the end of our show. I cannot thank you enough so much, ladies and gentlemen, for staying locked in here at WHGE 95.3 FM, your one and only Black-owned, Black-operated news, information, education, and advocacy station. I'm Rachelle Wilson, and I'm going to make love to your earbuds because I'm going to bring the noise with intelligent noise right here at WHGE. Thank you so much. Until we meet again, God bless, take care of yourself, but be good to others because karma is real. Peace and grace. Okay, we're off radio air. Let me see if I have some questions. Ronald Handy is there. Oh, Cynthia Tyree. Hi, Cynthia. We're going to put you in the hot seat. It's coming up. Something Josie Roy. I don't know what that means, but you know what it means. Hi back, my friend. Birdhouse Music, everybody. Miss Jack definitely has my vote. Eddie Pullybank. Yes. Too bad we didn't leave Riverfront as a chemical dump. Yes, Eddie Pullybank should call you. And let me see, Charles Smith and Breon. Peace and grace. Breon Nichols is watching. And that's it. No more questions. Melanie Hughes, she was here with us today, ladies and gentlemen. We had Sophia Hughes, Miss Delaware, here at the radio station, but we just didn't have the time in order to engage her. So we'll catch her on the next go around. So, and Sharon Stokes is here as well.
Okay, great, Sharon.
All right, thank you, everybody. We love you. Thanks for tuning in, and share this interview and information today. Peace and grace.
Thank you so much.